Two films, same director, different wars, Vietnam War and the Iraqi War, different time periods, 1960s and 70s to the 2000s, different release dates, 1989 to 2007. You have similar ethical and war themes and topics, such as primary and military, personal and military, rape, murder of innocent civilians, and similar a soldier code of conduct and laws of war, war atrocities and crimes. Both are based on real life incidents. Casualties of War is based upon the incident on Hill 192 in 1966, while Redacted is based upon the Mohammedia killings in 2006. Shooting location. Neither film was shot in an actual story locale, which is common in film production. One film was shot in Thailand and California, Casualties of War, which represented Vietnam, while the other film, Redacted, was shot in Jordan, representing Iraq. The film, Casualties of War, is an article novel adaptation of real life events. You can see the diagram there shows the three types of adaptation. Look at the different types of sources that you can have for an adaptation in today's filmic world, but the three main types are loose, faithful, and literal. But the based on credit is a rather detailed credit in Casualties of War regarding the source material for COW. Redacted is again brings up contexts of this all persons fictitious disclaimer or fictional events disclaimer, which has long been a staple of cinema. But in the past 2 decades, narrative films based on real life events or people has raised legal and moral questions and debates on the presentation of fact and fiction and the dramatization of real life events and people. So concepts of dramatic license come into play. Redacted's credit is based on true events, which reflects the newer lure wording of true rather than real or factual. Inspired by is another popular looser wording, uh, but the credit in Redacted is rather sparse and basic compared to the more dense one in COW. Among recent movies regarding this based on a true story, uh, discourse, films like Chicago, adaptation, Catch Me If You Can, The Wolf of Wall Street. These are films that are all quote unquote true stories and raises questions about narrative films that are based upon real events. The 1990s, when films like JFK, Mississippi Burning, and Fire in the Sky were released, is when much of this debate was renewed. So today's internet, fact-driven, technological-driven world has facilitated and fueled this discussion even further. But neither of the two films mentioned are based on real events. The based on real events aspect of the film, it's not really marketed in the poster design. It's slightly mentioned in the marketing of the redacted trailer, though. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. You can see Edwin Burke and John Stuart Mill have been mentioned as the source of that quote, but this quote captures both films' theme and allegorical roots. Both films are allegories on American and thus troops' self-superiority complex, barbaric behavior, and ethical moral disgrace in foreign wars and territories. The film exposes aspects of a subtle psychosis ingrained in America's cultural and ethnical ethos and psyche. Additionally, This also relates to imperialism, thematic subtext. A secondary allegory and sort of theme for COW, and also seen in Redacted, is something Vincent Canby sharply identified in his review for the film back in 1989, which is group loyalty versus individual conscience. So group loyalty, peer pressure, herd or mob mentality versus individual conscience, responsibility, and kind of that being that lone voice within a group. So in the military, you have group loyalty versus individual conscience, which has greater significance and meaning within the military world than the civilian world. So we're talking the release of individual self for team unity is paramount in the military. So there's this deeper loyalty is in due part to this kind of shared experience and life and death consequences that the team experiences and some of their duties entail. So we're talking conformity, the willingness to relinquish self, so a sense of duty for that, and for the greater good of the team, platoon, etc. Each film has a specific marketing campaign. Both films are classified in the war genre. While the films are similar in storylines and themes, the films are wholly and radically different in the distribution and production contexts and realities. One film, Casualties of War, shot on film stock. Redacted is shot digitally or HDV, then printed on film. COW is a larger budgeted film. COW stressed the bigger name A-list stars. Um, the director of the war drama is also stressed in the trailer. Redacted has no big name stars, and this is reflected in the marketing. Thus, COW is a major studio release, which provided a larger production budget, larger screen release, and a more extensive marketing campaign. Redacted was released by smaller distributors and primarily foreign financed. The theatrical release was limited, while COW was a summer release in over 1,400 screens, which was huge at that time in 1989, while 3,000 to 4,000 is the norm now for a big release. COW had a reported budget of $22.5 million with an 18.6 gross. Redacted budget was reportedly $5 million and grossed approximately $782,000 in its general release. Both films received critical acclaim but are considered box office failures. Note the similarities and variance in the style of the trailers. Both trailers mention De Palma's Scarface and The Untouchables credit. Neither film mentions the real-life incidents really in the promos. Redacted does use based on a true story as a key marketing tool briefly, while the COW trailer does not mention that it's based upon a New Yorker article and a novel adaptation. Each film's aesthetics replicates the production mode. One is a glossy take on wartime atrocities, the other a loose, gritty, subjective, low-tech look at modern war and the video game generation soldier and atrocities. For the posters, COW has mainly just two planes with a stark composition and a black background which focuses on the two enlarged faces in the top third, which dominates the frame and splits it vertically. There's a contrast of positive and negative in the expressions of the two men. Expressionless calmness, reason, stability versus aggression, angst, instability, and psychosis. The enlarged actor's name credit stresses the stars, which is also seen in the same stencil font in the trailer. The stencil font alludes to stencil name fonts used in the military and boot camp. The taglines for each film stress the ethical moral themes of the film. Both speak to truth. COW is more literal and precise with even in war. Murder is murder, so more direct. Redacted is more figurative, with truth is the first casualty of war. For a tagline, which is a direct allusion to COW. within the Redacted tagline, so that's kind of interesting. A not so subtle wink wink allusion for the De Palma fans. The COW tagline refers to absolutism of right and wrong and what is murder during war. So right and wrong, ethics and morals. The Redacted tagline communicates on how the truth of soldiers' actions during war becomes muddled, confusing, complex, and purposely extinguished, um, sometimes by the higher-ups. Muddled both purposely and unintentionally due to genuine memory issues of what exactly happens during these fast-moving events of war. But the Redacted poster is more dense than the stark composition seen in COW's poster. Images of a lone and large soldier and other soldiers in action combined with silhouetted graphical linearity and prominently positioned underlying text, which is redactic, increasing visual reinforcement of the film's title and themes and contributions, and contributes to the poster's distinctive graphical quality with these redactic outwords. Bits of facts and storyline can be gathered through the words, not blackened. Film festival entry information and a positive critical quote augment on the left hand side. The title is in the lower bottom third of the poster, enlarged, slanted, and in bold red, which with hints of black interspersed, as is the director's name. A discrete film by credit stresses markets that it's a De Palma work. The soldiers, their coloring is this a faded green, merged with that black kind of silhouette of defensive wall in the background. De Palma's Scarface and the Untouchable credits are accented in red and at the top a third of the Redacted poster. Interesting, while not mentioned in the COW poster, uh, those credits are mentioned right away within the COW trailer marketing. The COW trailer runs 1 minute and 57 seconds and uses one of the most familiar trailer voiceover actors in the business to intro the trailer. It's propelled by a martial beat and a buoyant track, most likely by the film's composer, Ennio Morricone. The trailer's first images is De Palma works in text and voiceover mentioning him and his credits. Also mentioned is the film's producer Art Linson and his prior cinematic success with De Palma. The trailer is rather detailed and even a touch too revelatory of crucial moments and uses mostly voluminous and action-driven images. Shots in the field are juxtaposed against images from a military inquiry court-martial. The trailer reveals quite a bit of the key dialogue exchanges while keeping the kidnapped girl images to a minimum, which enhances mystery, yet clear-cut downplays her and upplays the ethical battle conflict between the protagonist and antagonist and the protagonist and the system. Weapons, explosions, and the fact anybody could be killed at any moment is thematically stressed upon the protagonist and audience through visuals and dialogue. The clear conflict between good and evil. Conscience, ethics, and no conscience, no ethics are accentuated directly and continually. The main plot of a lone kidnapped civilian village Vietnamese woman is highlighted. A blue-toned, rainy scene is featured throughout, expressing the melancholy tone of the protagonist and some of the storyline, with the protagonist being communicated the futility in reporting the hinted at incident, breaking laws of war, so stressing that he should not report this. This is frequently emphasized by other characters, including superiors, throughout the trailer. Watching the trailer nowadays, the cast is populated with skilled stars and character actors of later acclaim after this film's release. Their career successes attest to the casting director's skillfulness. Penn is a bigger and more acclaimed film star than Fox now, Fox is a TV star, was a huge TV star then, but was just starting to have some success in the cinematic realm with Back to the Future and a few other films, Teen Wolf. Penn has pretty much primarily been a film star his whole life. The first shot is a two-shot of the protagonist and antagonist in a sedate composition of discussion in the field. You can see it below. A moment of reflection where the protagonist bids to delay and alter the progressively out of control events. The final close-up of the trailer is a shot that is powerful and declarative statement about the film's moral compass from the protagonist, his perspective, which reinforces the film's ethical moral themes through unassuming but potently subtextual and metaphorical dialogue. This ain't the Army, Sarge. Redacted's trailer runs 58 seconds and uses a timeless classic for sound bridge and structure. Handel's Sarabande from Suite in D minor is used extensively in Kubrick's Barry Lyndon and featured prominently in the Redacted trailer. The classical music's calm civility is used in counterpoint and as underscore in contrast and juxtaposition to the manic, uncivilized, boorish, and violent imagery. The trailer opens with titles of three quintessential De Palma film credits, informing the viewer the work is from the director-auteur of well-known critically acclaimed films. The trailer intercuts between the film's imagery, black screens with white titles, text, which mentions some De Palma top works. Surprisingly, Casualties of War is not mentioned, probably due to its box office failure. A now ubiquitous, based on a true story, events credentials is utilized in positive critical quotes. Unlike COW, Redacted's trailer uses positive critical quotes, mostly foreign UK media. The first quote used through titles and text, appearing soon after the jittery, action-packed opening shot, is a perfect as can be description of the war film, even containing a direct allusion to COW. The quote is, "The casualties of war for the YouTube generation," from the Guardian Guide. Conspicuously, the trailer downplays, even disregards, the video point of view driven perspective seen in much of the film and which structures much of the film. The trailer for Redacted is actually a DVD trailer promo, while COW is either a theatrical or DVD VHS trailer. The trailer, Redacted's trailer, uses extreme, kinetic, active, graphic, violent, and definitive images. Filmmaker De Palma is known for. You have guns ablaze, jihadists kidnapping, soldier blown to pieces by an IED, night vision raids on a village, iconographic group picture captured by soldiers of wars, even utilizing the classic trailer's final image is that war iconographic freeze frame of the group picture. Both films have title subtext, which refers to truth and how it's suppressed and obscured during war, with Redacted being more directly literal than more figurative COW title and even tagline. Both films are unflinching in depiction of brutal and disturbing subject matter. Both films demonstrate the war's hell ethos that Sherman is known for regarding his quote. You have war military culture represented and seen throughout the film. Army structure, chain of command, and officer superiors suppressing reporting atrocity facts. You have more dilemmas during extenuating and extreme circumstances, which are at the film at both films' story roots. Those willing to stand up against wrong. The films concern personality types, the go along to get along versus strong moral caliber type of personality, and aspects of defying the silent code of wars regarding unquestionable acts in the field of war, being reported, which is sort of comparable to the police blue code of silence regarding actions and behavior seen in the field for police officers. Platoon and Apocalypse Now. Those two films both have keynote scenes involving war atrocities that are akin to the My Lai massacre. The films and true life events thematically and morally posit the question, is it the nature of war which creates these immoral deeds or alters decent and sometimes not so decent men or people? Or is it the nature of man regarding the kind of atrocity seen in these two films and in wars in real life?
From the director and the producer of The Untouchables.
Hey, Sarge, you gotta give me a minute here on this thing we're doing. I don't want nothing but charming people around me on this one, gentlemen, so bring your good luck stuff.
Like this, Sarge?
This is nuts. We ain't supposed to be doing this.
Everybody else is up for this.
This is kidnapping, ain't it, Sarge?
Be advised, you best just relax and try to forget about this thing. Is that clear?
Yeah, you got a weapon. We all got weapons. Anybody can blow anybody away, which is the way it ought to be. Always.
Military court-martials are notoriously lenient.
My job, sir, was to kill communist aggressors, count the bodies.
Even if these 4 guys get convicted, they're not going to do any real time.
You throw guys like us in the stockade and you're helping nobody but the Viet Cong.
If I was them, I'd be looking for a little payback.
Somebody stumbles. They don't mean to shoot you. They're sorry. You could get killed real easy.
Now, a man like you, wife, baby daughter, I'd be considering those factors very carefully.
You don't have to try and kill me, man. I told them. And they don't care! Just because each of us might be blown away, everybody's acting like we can do anything, man.
You think you're standing up to me? Probably like the Army, don't you, Eric?
This ain't the Army, Sarge.
Michael J. Fox, Sean Penn, Casualties of War.